So my name's David Orozco, and I'm going to be playing some music for you guys. What's up? Just kidding. Hi, buddy. You want to get up? Come on. Come on. Want to sit? Can you sit? Good boy, buddy. Everybody, this is Comet. He is my baby boy. Say hi, dude. Okay, so you're gonna chill with me. My name is David Orozco, and I wanted to make this video because recently I got engaged. Recently being engaged, people ask you two questions for sure, and if you've been married, you know this, but if you haven't, you're going to be asked, how did you do it? And then, have you guys picked a date yet? We get asked that a lot, but the third question that I get most of any of them is who is going to shoot your guys' wedding, or who's gonna photograph your wedding? Because we are wedding photographers. Myself and my fiance Yasmin are both wedding photographers, and I figured I would share my take being a wedding professional and being a wedding insider about how to go about this process and how we are going to determine who's going to be the one who's photographing our wedding. So disclaimer, I'm not in any way trying to advertise my own business at all. Just know that the things that we are looking for naturally kind of are how we treat our clients. I mean, if they weren't, then what kind of business would we be? We are both very photojournalistic type of photographers. We love to document. We don't like posing, and we love to just kind of document those natural moments as they happen. That's kind of where we're coming from, just as context to lead you into our process. Finding a wedding photographer is actually kind of a hard thing. There are so many photographers out there now these days. So how do you go about when you're engaged and you're looking for a photographer? How do you find somebody who's right for you? And I'm just going to kind of cut to the chase and say that the most important thing that I think both professionally and that I'm looking for in a photographer to document our wedding is fit. Do you trust this person? Are you comfortable with this person? Because they're going to be there with you in some of the most intimate moments of your life on the most important day, or one of the most important days of your life. So I think that it is so important to feel comfortable, to be able to trust, and to have some sort of relationship with that person that is based on those things. Because if you don't, then that kind of just makes for an awkward spot during the wedding day. So there are some prerequisites that I feel like a photographer should have, in that that'll let you decipher out, okay, seems like a more reputable person versus somebody who maybe is not what you're looking for. So the prerequisites are a website, social media presence, ideally in Instagram, good response time within 3 days, and then also having shot real weddings. How do you figure that out? Well, I'm gonna get down into that below. Okay, so now that we've gone over the prerequisites, here's the process. So here's the process that I think is the best way, most efficient way to go about finding your wedding photographer. One, you need to establish a budget. You and your significant other should get together and talk about finances and establish how much do we want to allocate towards a photographer and videography really in general, and be on the same page, because that is going to help you so much. Number two is finalize a date, whether it's with a venue or whether you're doing an elopement and you just need to set a date down. Research that date and then finalize it, and then approach your photographer. No reputable photographer is going to take your money without a date. So you've got a budget and you've got a date. Next thing to do is to find a photographer whose style that you absolutely love. So how do you do this? I would honestly go to Instagram. Instagram is a great tool for this. Search whether it's in your area or types of photographers that you probably already follow. And my advice would be to throw out number of followers. Don't pick a photographer by the number of followers that they have. That does not indicate whether or not that they are a good photographer. In my opinion, that just indicates whether or not that they are good at Instagram and how much time that they devote to Instagram. But throw that number out and then look at style, focus on that, and then use Instagram to kind of get a feel for who they are. More than likely, they're gonna be posting stories of themselves and talking about their day. Use that. Kind of, Yasmin has always talked about stalking them, but you can use that to get a feel for who they are as a person and to see, do I think that this person could be a good fit for us? Do they speak our kind of weird, is usually what I like to say. So now you probably have a handful of photographers that you absolutely love their style. Comments over here in the background. And you have these photographers now. Go to their website and inquire through their website. likely they have a contact form. Go inquire through there. I know you're gonna want to do it on Instagram, but I know for me, it's easier for me and it's easier for me to keep track of my inquiries through my website versus through Instagram. Things kind of tend to get lost there. The next thing is kind of a big one, get pricing. So hopefully when you inquire through the website, you're gonna get back pricing, and then you can get to see packages and collections that that photographer might have. Some people don't send you their pricing right off the bat. They will sell you, they will tell you why they're good, they'll try to educate you, which there's nothing wrong with, but it's not my cup of tea. I am a firm believer about getting pricing right up front. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is that if you sell me and I absolutely fall in love with you and I want you as my photographer, and then at the very end, after all this time, you give me your pricing and you're way out of budget, then I've either A, wasted all of that time, or B, I'm going to make an emotional decision, which is what they want, and I'm gonna be way out of my budget. And so that's not what I want. That's usually not a good idea, and I would not recommend that. My stance is just to be upfront and to give pricing or get pricing in the very beginning. That way I know, you know what, you're probably just gonna be a little bit out of my price range, or you're gonna be way out of my price range. So I'm gonna have to move on to the next option. There's nothing wrong with that. Price is an issue, and you have to be cognizant of that. So you've inquired through the website, you've gotten pricing, and now what? Then the next step is to set up a meeting, set up some type of meeting. And I honestly 100% prefer face-to-face meetings. If you can meet in person, that is the absolute ideal version of this, to see whether or not that this person is going to fit your personality, you guys are gonna mesh well, and you're gonna establish a good start to the relationship. And if you can't do an in-person meetup, then FaceTime. FaceTime, I know, can be awkward sometimes, especially with connection, but at least you're getting to see who that person is, and they are in turn making the effort to establish a relationship with you. All right, so you're at this in-person meeting, now what? What the heck do you do now? So I have a couple of questions that I would ask my photographer. Really, the main goal is to A, get a feel for who this person is and what they like to do, and if your personalities are gonna mesh well together, and then B, to ask some sort of logistic questions so that you know that they have all of their bases covered. One of the first questions that I would ask is, why are they doing wedding photography? What brought them to this spot in their life? Why did they choose wedding photography? Because it's not an easy thing, and it just gives you a sense of how passionate and how devoted that they are to this job of theirs. Ask them what they like to do for fun. That gives you a feel into who this person is outside of just being a wedding photographer. You want to get to know them and make the effort to get to know them also as a client. It just makes the relationship so much better, and it makes it more like a friendship, and that's what I want. It helps the pictures come out better, helps you feel more comfortable. It's just a win-win for everybody. So this one I feel like is a major one, and that is, how do you pose your clients, or do you pose your clients? Do you believe in something else? So this one is a big one because, at least for us, we feel like posing people just brings out awkwardness. People feel awkward, the photos look awkward. Even if you're super skilled at posing, it just doesn't feel good to the client. And we're all about client experience, and in return, I want to have a good client experience as well. For us, I know that Yaz and I have talked, and we would prefer to have somebody who just prompts us and documents things as they happen. And we get to just kind of flow through a day or an engagement session or a wedding day just kind of normally as it would happen, and then it's documented in those moments. That's kind of our philosophy on things. That's how we would want our photographer to kind of go about things. Getting an idea about whether or not your photographer poses people or if they prompt people, and what an engagement session or wedding day actually looks like in terms of how does the photographer interact with you. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, styled shoots. The question I would ask would be, how many real weddings have you shot, or do you shoot styled shoots? And if so, is that a good representation of what the actual client experience is going to be like? A styled shoot, like I said, is a great thing for a photographer to increase their Instagram engagement and advertise themselves, but is not necessarily what a normal engagement session or a normal wedding would look like. Sometimes those shoots aren't even with real couples. Sometimes they can be with models who don't even know each other. Sometimes they are with real couples. The point is that you need to establish whether or not that If they do have styled shoots in their portfolio, is that representative of the actual process that you're going to be receiving and experiencing? How do you back up your photos? Are they backed up the day of? Are they backed up at home? Because these days things do happen and sometimes cards go corrupt. And so what happens if you lose those images? Just having some sort of backup is really important, at least I feel, so that way in case anything does happen, then you're okay and you're still gonna get your pictures at the end of your wedding. Ask them their approach to weddings. How do they shoot a wedding and what is important to them? I know for us, my most important thing is for our clients and our couples to have a great experience that day. I don't want them to remember the bajillion cameras that are in their face. And my goal is the client experience. I want them to come out of that with just having a fantastic day, regardless of whatever happens. That's kind of what we're looking for in a photographer as well. So getting that approach and hearing that from them just kind of gives you that information that you need to kind of continue on the conversation. Another question that I would ask would be the timeline after the wedding. It's easy to get up to the wedding and be like, awesome, this is great, everything's done now, but you still gotta get your photos, right? So knowing how long it's gonna take you to get your photos or your video or both is an important part of the process as well. And it's a good thing to think about in the beginning also. All right, so this one is kind of not a fun one, but what happens if we have to cancel or if you have to cancel? What happens in that situation? So just knowing that in advance, I think is just being a good client, a good customer, and asking that question. I hope that you guys have found this information useful and valuable. I know for the majority of you, this is probably your first time getting married and hopefully your only time getting married. I thought that I would share my information and my knowledge being a wedding professional into hopefully helping you to find your dream wedding photographer. My name is David Orozco and I'll see you guys in the next one. So Yaz and I are both wedding photographers and we're both photojournalistic, documentarian type of photographers. And what that means is that my dog is freaking going crazy. Number two is they need to have some sort of tongue twister. So now go to their website and inquire through their website. I know that it's holy, this guy in the back is just going to town at this frickin' weed whacker.